again, the council to look at a potential facility, architecture for a potential construction on the Lotus property on West High. That's where all the poles are. Again, we're just going to, those who can make the trip will head up there and just get a look at, what something might look like together, and then come back and regroup after that.
Okay. Do you know which one you're going to?
It's a Flaherty and Collins property.
I know, but...
I don't know which one, maybe both or three, who knows?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Last week, during the demolition of what we refer to commonly as the Scudder Thomas property, we rolled up next to the Union Hall, and if you remember, there is an addition on the side of that, and there was consideration for removing the addition on the side of the Union Hall while we were doing the demolition. We got a proposal on Friday. It was well over $50,000. So the recommendation to the board is not to tear off the side of the Union Hall and just allow that to be determined and or utilized as is with the potential development of those properties along Short Street.
Did we have a reason for considering tearing that down?
Because it wasn't historic and it was sticking out there. Upon some observation, it was shifting from the building a little bit. It just was sticking out there and kind of looked obvious, I guess, at some point to a few folks that
That's not to say if a developer on the property wanted to incorporate that building, and we may take that off, or they may.
They can do whatever they
We'll
get.
work with them possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wait and see. In case you had heard that discussion was going on, it was fairly quick response to get the proposal back as we did. In addition to that, during the demolition, we uncovered some columns that are worth salvaging. They're the antique decorative pieces that were on the front corners of the building. We failed to include those in our inventory for pieces of the facility that we wanted to keep during the demolition process. They were under the facade of the front of that building, and we failed to either remember that they were there or
Didn't know they were there.
didn't know they were there. So that being said, some members of the community saw them, and we've been down to look at them, and I believe, as I represent the board, that there's definitely consensus in the community, and as I've discussed it with several board members, that we might want to retain those, and they're asking $3,500 for those columns. There are 5 of them. Total.
Oh.
That's how I read. Total, $3,500. So what I would ask the board is to allow me to pursue that for conversation for up to $3,500 to retain those historic pieces and discussion.
Are we going to use them, or are they going to put them in a museum?
Well, if we had a museum, we could certainly entertain that. I have an idea about a museum, but that's for another day.
Okay.
But I think what we would like to do is offer them as part of the new construction in the same location.
Yeah.
For $3,700. Yeah.
Where would they be stored? City properties?
Yeah, we'll store them. We'll get them cleaned up and store them.
That scrap price, $3,500?
Actually, they weren't scrap price. It was, as I understand it, they were worth at least that much on the antique market.
I would say that they'd be worth a lot more than that. I think for 5 of them for $3,500 is a heck of a
Rather
deal.
than-
That price, I don't think.
So what I'm asking for is permission to negotiate that up to $3,500 and see if we can get those things put away and get this
I don't
business
have a
behind
problem
us.
with it, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a motion to purchase the 5 decorations?
I would
Back about
make a motion to give
$3,500.
Mr. Missmore permission
We need to make a motion to do that for up to
Up to 3,500, I'll
3,500.
make that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion by Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Randy, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Ayes have it.
Remember this next time we decide to do this again somewhere else in town.
Well, you remember this, too. I have an announcement, as long as Brian's at the podium, if he doesn't mind staying there for a second.
You all done with your announcements, Brian?
I will yield to Dennis before I come
Oh,
back
I
with my
thought you were
final.
done, Brian, I didn't want to cut you off.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, just as an FYI, for those of you who weren't able to attend the Civic Park meeting last week, we have reached a time in the process where we have completed schematic design, and we've kind of settled in on a rough budget number to begin this next part of the process, of which will include, at a later portion of the agenda, discussion about a construction manager and asking this board to take some action formally. That's a recommendation from the steering committee.
Yeah, so then I've been working with Tony Akels with Strand, the engineering firm that's leading the project. At this point, the next step is to advertise an RFP for the construction manager for the project. The RFP includes the requirements for qualification, that once we get the applicants in, there's going to be an executive committee formed, which is a sub-part of the steering committee, to review those applicants and determine who's the most qualified applicant. I talked to Mr. Akels today, and I'm going to talk to him after the meeting just about the next phases. Because once we're to the point where we need to get some plans together and start advertising them, there are some advertising requirements. But all we need tonight is just a vote from the Redevelopment Commission to go ahead and authorize the publication of the RFP for the construction manager.
Do we want an RFP or an RFQ?
It's a RFQ, I guess would be the most accurate terminology.
So I need a motion to put out for an RFQ for construction manager for the High Street Park,
Civic Park?
Short Street Park.
Park, okay.
I'll make such a motion.
I have a motion from Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right.
Dennis?
I'm glad I yield back to you, because I wanted to bring up the Civic Park, but in a different way. I just thought, since we've moved so far on the Civic Park, that it would be a nice announcement to let the people know, in the audience or on the tape, that Redevelopment, along with council, has unanimously worked together on all of our votes to do this park. And just as an update, you know, we've acquired a lot of property over there, and the steering committee is, with Tony back there, was worked really hard to make this thing happen so far. And I think maybe we should think about possibly publishing so people could look at, are we too early for that?
Well, that's a good.
I mean, it's just, because people are calling me all the time.
Yeah,
wanting to know about
absolutely.
it.
And I think that's, and so the statutes actually require it, and I think that's the reason why. And so what we'll have, in addition to our basic statutory requirements, which are to publish, make available to the public, the plans, once we have them, and even in their most simplified form. So the engineers talk about, I think, like 10% or 8% or whatever. So we start getting these plans at a very early stage, and then they begin to kind of transform. But we are required to publish them. We'll publish them on the website. We'll make them available, kind of like we did when we had the conceptual. Remember, we made that available online. I would imagine we'll also have a physical rendering, probably here in City Hall, maybe even at the clerk treasurer's office, kind of like they have at St. Lawrence. I don't know if you guys have seen that. We just don't have it yet, but as soon as we have it, we'll have it soon.
The one that you commented on today online, back to Tony, would be a good example of letting people have a sneak preview.
Yes, sir.
The only thing that I don't like about that is putting it out too soon, is some of this is just conceptual, just like the staging
Yeah,
area.
but Tony, in
We
all
don't want-
fairness, this is pretty much where we're gonna, overview of where we're gonna go. It's not specific, yes, but it's an overview. I don't see this park changing dramatically beyond that parameters. Are there going to be issues in there that change? Yeah. Is there going to be a bathroom here instead of there, or is the stage going to be over here or back a little bit? Yeah, but I think people are, I mean, I'm getting a lot of calls, and Del, if it's something we should put out, that's the only thing I've seen lately, and you commented on it, and I was going to comment to Tony too, that I really like it.
Well, why don't we put something out after our next meeting? Agree on what we want to put out after
The
the
next meeting.
It's November, maybe the 22nd, but it could roll into December, I'm just guessing because of...
And it really comes down, since we're publishing the CMAR now, it's really up to the steering committee when you want to have that for discussions and stuff like that. We do have the firehouse reserved for
That's fine, Tony.
Yeah.
That's a...
All right, that's fine.
All righty.
Yeah, just information for people to look at.
And I would just remind it to the public that if anybody's interested, feel free to call, and I would be happy to go over the work we've done to date, documents, pictures, and tell the story of where we're at and, you know, what are ideas and what are probably pretty sure things.
And Mr. Ackles, how close, how far out do you think we'd be to having our first plans that we,
We've actually already started on the demolition plans.
yeah,
So we've got them pretty far along.
Yeah.
But we're holding off until we get the construction manager hired, or the city does. So the ones that, the process is, they're the ones that are actually going to bid it out. The city doesn't bid it out. So we want to get them on board, let them look things over, give their input. So I'd say, probably late December, or we might be ready early January. Bid out, like, say, first phase. That's how we want to.
terrific. See, so by then, we would have something that we could publish, and we can obviously put it in the newspaper, and I'm sure the Register and Eagle would be glad to share that, so thank you, Tony.
All righty. Anything else, Mr. Mesmer?
Just new business.
Moving on to new business. Yeah, you can stay right there.
Or financial.
Bid opening for 305 West Center Street.
Oh,
What was that, Kelly? Did we miss something?
Financial.
Oh, the financial, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's not any.
Hey, it's
means I don't
Brian, it's
speak.
Brian's fault. He
No, it's
skipped.
your fault, Mr. Chairman.
It's fine.
Just
right.
read the financial report, please.
Okay, as of November 7th, 2017, the balance for redevelopment is $1,797,000. 200, no, hold on. $1,797,268.93. And then after our committed monies towards projects, it's down to $464,903.66. Quite a bit lower.
Okay, well, there's our financials. Any questions?
No.
Okay, move on then to new business. Mr. Mesmer, bid opening for 305 West Center Street.
have we received any bids for 305 West Center Street? Okay. Just a quick review. 305 West Center is the lot where the house burned. We advertised that property for the average of 2 appraisals. According to the rules, we have received no qualifying bids. Now we have a 30-day period where we don't do anything.
Right.
So that will take us beyond December's meeting,
What was the appraised value?
$16,000.
And that's the price that you put in the paper?
That's the average of the 2 appraisals, that's correct. So now we have a period of 30 days where we don't do anything other than just the general interest that's out in the community. After that 30 days, which will be after the December meeting, we'll have the opportunity to negotiate at arm's length, according to the rules. The thing that's going on right now that's awesome is the fact that I've had at least 3 developers who are interested in that property. So we're going to have to spend a little time, perhaps in the next meeting, clarifying the interaction that we're going to require to, whether it's an RFP, so let's say we don't, this is an example, we don't have the 30 days up by December, so perhaps in January, we would announce an RFP for 305 West Center Street, expecting the answers in the February meeting, and we would evaluate it on criteria such as, the offer on the property and the value of the home to be built there. The things that, and I don't know that it's all the criteria, but, I think that's something we can discuss.
Well, that would be nice to go out for RFP, so we can make sure that we get a house that's going to fit in with that neighborhood, instead of, just something that looks like a sore thumb sitting there.
So, I'm just throwing the idea out there, but I think maybe in the December meeting, let's finalize on how we want to handle that. I've not been here where we've had, competing contractors for a piece of property, so I want to make sure we understand the process we want to use, so we can make it very clear to the people interested what that is, so we can execute it properly and without flaw.
Okay.
Is there more than two that are interested?
Yes.
Because I know of two, I don't know who the other ones are.
Okay, fair enough?
I agree with the chairman, though, because they got all the pretty porches on there, down there, and a lot of the brick and all that kind of stuff. It should match in down there. Important.
542 West High Street demo?
Okay, 542 West High, that's the property down here on the west end of town. We were able to purchase that property, close on that property. So what I'm looking for tonight is a motion to proceed to begin to prepare the paperwork to go out to solicit bids for demolition. As I was preparing the agenda, as Kelly and I were preparing the agenda, I also, that's kind of lagging a little bit, but 300 Margaret Street is the property directly across from Acapulco's. We have closed on that as well, so I'm asking for the motion to proceed on both of those properties for preparing the documents for potential demolition.
I would like to do both of them, because the Margaret Street house, it's starting to overgrow. I'm afraid the varmints are going to get in there. It's been empty for a while, so we really need to get that down.
Let's move to doing both.
Okay. Have a motion to go out for estimates for demolition for 542 West High Street and 300 Margaret Street.
So moved.
Motion by Dennis, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by, all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Before, Mr. Chairman, before we leave the 542 on High Street, can we reestablish remember we talked about setting a higher limit for the house down there when someone comes to us and they want to build a house? Do you remember, Paul, you were there? We wanted.
That's correct.
What was that limit that we wanted? Because I want to make sure.
We haven't, I think that's one of the things that we need to.
I understand, I just want to talk about it for a minute. That's
I
all.
got you, but I'm going to. I think that's one of the things we need to evaluate, maybe in a working session or a December meeting, because we definitely, that area has a different opportunity for us than some of the other ones, and I think, Dennis, you're correct. We need to establish that's a unique project area, and it's going to require unique project specifications.
Well, and also, we were going to wait and kind of see if we were going to acquire any more property down at that area.
Well, that's on West. I don't know if there's more down there, but I would think there should be. But we have the East coming up in a later conversation today.
But to answer your question, absolutely. We're not going to advertise that thing until we're sure what we want to do on that end of town.
All right.
And we've talked about removing the cap altogether. We've talked about adding a cap for remodels, not just new homes, to encourage remodeling. And back to the RFP, Mr. Seymour Jr. also, and you guys have all had, as we've moved through these first 2 years, different items that we can include to what we're looking for with these homes, in terms of facade and materials to be used, so we can memorialize that and put it all together.
Okay. Moving on then.
Great.
B&R Rentals, East High Street.
I will, coming up? Yeah, okay, yeah. What we're looking for tonight, if the board is so interested, would be to, after we listen to Mr. Ricketts, is proceed with the approval to do appraisals on the properties that he's going to discuss with you. That would be the outcome if
We have
so
to get
desired.
2 appraisals?
Yeah.
What does he have to get?
Well, how many properties? There's
There's 3 properties.
3 properties, and
Yes.
it's in our packet here. so-
Yeah, it's in the packet.
But does he have to get appraisals and turn them over to you?
No, we're required by statute to get 2 appraisals. Per house, and then our offer is the average of the 2 appraisals.
We could have him get one and we could get one. I see what you're saying. And we don't always have to pay for both of them.
Before you leave the podium, I have one question, which I should have asked earlier when we were talking. One of these is on the historical list.
That's correct.
Now, will we be able to demo that or not? Because if we are getting this property, more than likely we're going to demo and sell the lots for rebuilds.
As I understand it, if we were to do that, we would have to go through a fairly lengthy process with the historic preservation folks. There's a process to doing anything like that. There's
Right.
an evaluation process.
So are we looking to buy it and rehab it?
I think
Is that
at this point in time, Mr. Ricketts is going to present to us the potential of 3 properties on East End. We have discussed as a board that the East End is directly adjacent to where we have some development going on. And we talked about this in the past. It looks like that the 2 of the properties, we would probably purchase for demolition purposes. The historic home, we would have to scratch our heads a little bit and figure out, what the best thing to do with that is.
Well, do you think it's possible Scotty's going to come up here and take our minimum $25,000?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
I
had
just
some
want to see his
discussion.
reaction to it.
Yeah, no.
Because he plays a lot of
We've had some
poker.
discussion.
Scotty's
And I will tell you,
he's a very civic-minded guy.
I'll tell you, we discussed it, and, I said, the difference, and I don't know exactly what he wants, we've kind of milled around a little bit, but it's definitely more than what we're allowed to do without appraisals.
Okay. I was just
But to go through the process of getting 2 appraisals on every home, I've indicated to Mr. Ricketts that, whatever that average is, we're going to have to stick to. So, as we get started on this process, we need to know where we're all at. Because there very well may be a difference.
Bring him up.
Mr. Ricketts.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Brian.
Thank you, appreciate your time. Yeah, no, I wanted to discuss the East End project at this time, because there's been some interest expressed there that my partner and I, for ER Rentals, is who owns the properties, so that's Mike Eves, myself, for those 3 pieces. So we own 252, 242, and 224 East High Street. So 252 and 242 are the last houses on the East High Street on the Riverside, and then 224 is 2 down from Partners in Health. So I believe there's 6 properties there altogether. So we would have interest in selling them.
Will you be next to the slaybacks?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It's a white slayback in between the slaybacks towards Partners in Health. So we would have interest in selling those properties. In a different conversation, we also own 300 West High Street, 561, 567, 569, and 575 West High as well, too. 300 West High Street, which is right across from the courthouse.
Yes.
561 West High, 567, 569 West High, and 575 West High, which are the 4 last properties on West High Street, not on the Riverside, so on the north side of the street. But right now, for conversation piece, we're just looking at the east side of East High Street, so.
So those 4 are not on the left.
They're on the riverside. That's correct. They're going down high, it's on the right-hand side.
One is on the
Yeah.
300.
300 West High Street is across from the courthouse, next
they're
to
all there.
Richard Butler's office. Where the old surveyor office used to be, West Woodfield. Okay. So anyway, but yeah, sorry to get off topic there a little bit, but if the redevelopment commission would be interested in having appraisals done, then we would be interested in selling them at the time. 2 of the houses this time are vacant. 242 is being rented right now, and has been rented for the last probably 6-7 years. So where we were with that is we're either going to rehab them, invest our money back, and bring this back up to par, or we would be interested in selling them. What we don't want to do is go invest $25,000 to $30,000 if the city is interested in buying those, because then obviously that would elevate our price up in the next 4 or 5 years, because we'd have to recoup that investment we just made. And these are properties that we've owned for probably the last 10 years plus. So kind of our vision when the casino come into town, we bought on High Street strategically, thinking that there's either going to be restaurants or cafes or something that someone's going to develop along that riverside. So, I
242 High Street, how long has your renters lived there?
At 242,
Yes, the yellow one.
the current, I'm going to say 3 years, Tony?
3 years.
The ones that are currently there now, yes. So I guess that's my request, if you're interested in getting 2 appraisals, if you would like us to get an appraisal, we'd have no problem paying for one of them, and you pay for one, or if you want to pay for both, we don't have no problem making that investment. So I guess that would be my ask right now, if you're interested to move the process forward.
Okay, so the question is, if we're interested in these 3 buildings, then we need to go out for appraisals for them. And do you want to pay for one, or you want to pay for 2? First, I think we need to decide if we want to pay for 1 or 2.
Well, I don't know what I want to do on that one.
Scotty, who would you use for your appraisal?
My appraisals, I would probably use Don Pettit or Jeff Thomas. I think those are the 2 best. Jeff, I think he's the one in this area that is commercial and residential. So depending on how we want to zone it, because that can be zone levy business 1 in that area that we're in there. So depending on how you want to go with appraisals.
Brian, who do we use?
We use,
Would have to order them.
yeah,
He wouldn't order them. We would just send the bill if he does pay for one, but we, as the city, would have to order both of them. And we do use Jeff Thomas as well.
We use Jeff quite a bit.
One of the things that Mr. Ricketts and I talked about was, as I said, I don't want to go down this road and get the appraisals, and I don't know if the appraisals are going to hit what you have in mind or not, but, kind of shaking our head, if we're going down this path, there's going to be some consideration that it may not be exactly where you want it.
Sure.
And that he could reserve the right at that point to get a 3rd appraisal, just to see if he could, that we could factor in and divide by 3 instead of 2. That was one of the other options. It sounds like to me we're kind of muddying the waters with who pays for the appraisals.
We're not allowed to factor by 3, are we? We had to throw one out, don't we, or how would we do that?
I think we could if we wanted to, but we only need 2.
Right.
All right, in all brute honesty, Scotty, are you willing to accept less than 75, say if somebody's come back for 49, it kind of ties our hands?
I'd have to see what the numbers are, Tony. I mean, say a hard, fast number, I don't know. I know what I have invested in them right now. I know what I still have owed on properties. So it depends where that number comes back to.
Okay.
So, well, I can tell you, if it comes in at 73, we're not going to say no. But, but if it comes in at 25, we'll say no.
All right, well, then first off the bat, we need to decide if we want to buy these 3 properties, if we're interested in looking into buying them. And if so, then I need a motion to do that, and the motion to go out for 2 appraisals for them.
Well, before you ask that, I'd like to ask a simple question. Would you be willing to accept Jeff as your appraiser that you pay for?
Oh, sure.
Because we know him, we're comfortable with him, so that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, Jeff's local, and I'd rather deal with someone locally
Yeah.
than someone out, so yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
we trust him too.
As far as the city of Lawrenceburg, what are we going to benefit on these 3 houses?
Well, and that's kind of the discussion that I had with Mr. Messmore. This is, and the reason that we talk about the $25,000, I know we kind of joked about it, but that is a number that's been set by the legislature to reform areas and clear up blight, and this is an area that both ends of High Street areas where, there are some blighted properties. These properties, I don't know if both of them are in the unsafe building process, but I know at least one of them is. So it's been, just in full disclosure, there's another arm of the city of Lawrenceburg, the building department, that has cited these buildings and identified them. So, if we can clear blighted properties, then that is a benefit, and that's actually one of our statutory duties. But that's why we talk about the $25,000 that, Indianapolis said you can pay up to 25 without appraisals, because we feel like that's a fair number to buy a property that you're just going to tear down. So I think that's the best way to look at it.
I think we have interest in looking at all three properties. Having them appraised, rather.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments? If not, then I'll take a motion to go out for appraisals for those three properties.
So moved.
I have a motion by Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Randy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed, and
And
Mesnor?
now can we deal with, he's going to pay for one of them?
Yeah, I need to know that.
That's a specific motion.
I thought that was the motion, wasn't,
No, it wasn't included in the motion, so if you mean,
Okay.
Okay, on the two
Record of
appraisals,
the-
are you willing to pay for one of them, Scotty?
Yeah, we'll pay for one of them.
Okay. So we have a motion to pay for the two appraisals, and Mr. Ricketts will pay the city back for one.
And
of the each.
Per building? The
Per
appraisals,
building.
Per building, yeah.
per building.
And by doing that, we'll get a copy of each of the appraisals as well, too, correct?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Just amend
So-
the original motion, if somebody will do a first and second.
That's just
for
a
this.
second motion.
But we can-
We don't need to amend the first one, do we?
That's okay, you can do it either way.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
So do I have a motion for that? You write it.
would you like me to make a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we put the properties out for appraisal. Two appraisals. Oh, no, we amending?
No, we're not amending, we're just going out, we're
Okay, just for
just going to pay
appraisals.
for the appraisals, and Mr. Ricketts is going to pay back for
We'll
one
pay
each.
for them, and Mr. Ricketts will reimburse us for one.
Well, yeah, it'll be ER Rentals. That's because that's who owned the properties.
Well, that's fine.
That's a corporation.
That's fine. E&R Rentals.
Yeah.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Randy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you.
Oh, where am I at here? I lost my agenda. There it is. I got it. Tom Snyder, Mr. Slaybacks Antiques.
In your packet was some drawings that I did of the Slayback property, which is at 337 Walnut. It's a two-story antique block building, was built in 1905, and it previously housed the Stone King Feed and Grain, which stayed there until the 37 flood, and then it was sold to a Cotton family who sold dry goods on the first floor, and then they had rented rooms on the second floor. In 1978, the Slaybacks purchased it and used it for storage. You're well aware of the Slayback family. They've been in the antique business in the city of Lawrenceburg since the early 70s. They currently own, or their antiques are spread all over the place. They were in the A&P building that you bought, and they currently own a house and a garage that's full of antiques and that sort of thing. They own another garage off the railroad tracks, and they've also got 5 storage buildings with stuff in them. So they are planning on renovating the building, and they will operate an antique store from that building, and they will also plan on converting the second story to an apartment, and they will either rent the apartment or one of their children will live in that apartment. I've estimated the cost of renovation around $90,000. It has been started. In other words, the first floor has been insulated and drywall has been put up. but that's about it. It has been electrified, but it will need new electric boxes and that sort of things. We'll need new windows. So all of the quotes are here, and if there were no quotes, I estimated the cost of it. So the Slaybacks are asking for, I guess, assistance from the city. I think all of you are aware of what happened to their property over when the bridge went over, and how they were
Screwed.
thank you.
Not by us, by the state.
By the state, yes. The fact that the Slaybacks have been in business here a long time, and so they would like some assistance. If necessary, they will first do the main floor so they can get it open for business, and so that they can generate cash from their antiques that are stored all over the place, and then they will continue work on the second floor at the same time that they're in business on the first floor. So that is an option.
Okay, well, let me throw a few things out here. You say you've already done some work on there. I would figure up how much that was, because this board, in the past, we have donated more towards a project than what we should have. That's one way of saying it. And we had decided we were only going to give out 30% of the total cost of the project. So if you've already done work on there, I would figure up how much that was.
Or should we get it appraised? Is that what you're saying?
No, don't get the building appraised. Appraised doesn't have anything to do with this. Your remodeling costs. You got up to $89,000 here, but if you've got work that you've done, just now did, you can include that in there.
It has been done since they have taken over the building, since 1970, when they took over the building. At times.
I thought you just remodeled it.
No.
Just drywalled it and insulated it.
But it has been drywall. The drywall is sufficient in there, and it has been rewired, but the entry electric new boxes would have to be installed to meet code today.
Well, and that's also something to consider, how much of this is part of just the pure commercial preparation build out, and how much of this is to get it up to code, because it's out of code, and in their
That's
structural repairs and.
No, there's no structural repairs necessary.
Okay.
Okay? It's electric, plumbing, there is no plumbing. Okay? But if you would like me to redo this and do the estimates and the quotations that we have, and do it for the first floor, okay, so that a business can be opened, and that will generate some cash that will be allowed to go up to the second floor.
But the second floor is
Second floor is...
just see where an owner.
It's not insulated, it's not drywalled, there is some electric. It's been used for storage.
Could you also go out for some different bids? It's like the heat and air. That's just because I do that. That looks like a very high price. And one thing I'd like to see done through this redevelopment board is, like when we started the home building project, part of our requirements were used local people, and we've sort of gotten away from that. I see all these Cincinnati companies coming down doing these new homes, and that, I think, hurts us.
There's no Cincinnati company, there's one Cincinnati company.
No, I'm not saying that, but, well, I don't want to say the name.
Nelson's from Batesville.
Yeah, that's Batesville, that's not Lawrenceburg. There's plenty of heat and air, and not me, guys, I do no work through redevelopment, but there's plenty of heat and air companies around here that you could call to give local business to.
I would say that 90% of this is coming from Dearborn County. There's no lumber yard in the city of Lawrenceburg.
That's true, so you go to Aurora if you can, but if you can
I
get
did.
it
I didn't go to-
but if you can get it from Lawrenceburg, get it from Lawrenceburg. That's the way I feel. I don't know if the whole board feels this way. That's the way we started up and giving out our grants. Use local labor, local products. That's my opinion. Sorry.
Okay. No, I don't have a problem with that.
And also, I mean, if you get more than one bid, you can get a better price, maybe. I mean, this looks like pretty high price to me. I think you can get it done for half of that. The doors and windows, you could probably get those priced from Royal Lumber also, and see what the
Got it from
prices
Top
are.
Quality.
Pardon?
I got the windows and the doors from Top Quality.
Right, but I'm saying if you get more than one bid on these things, you can lower the prices down, and it helps him out and helps us out. We don't have, you know.
So are you telling me to redo this and come back in the next month?
And also consider that we only give out up to 30%. That's why, let's get it down as low as we can to help them out as much as we can.
Mr. Chairman, Tom actually asked if we would like him to do the first floor first, and we haven't addressed that. But I have a question if we did that. In other words, forget about the second floor right now. Just look at the first floor, so you said you can get the business started and they can generate cash, if I quoted you properly.
Yes.
So, my question to you is if we said, let's talk about that for a minute, what kind of guarantee would redevelopment have that that business, once it's remodeled, is going to be open? That's always been one of the prerequisites that the building and the business stays open. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I address that concern?
yeah,
I think in general, we would, first of all, I think everybody would love to see another store open on Walnut Street in downtown Lawrenceburg. So I think we have to figure out how we can work to that. I mean, it'd be a great opportunity on the other end of town that starts stretching our foot traffic from one end to the other. Great opportunity.
If you're saying,
So,
Wait a minute, Tom.
So what we generally would say is, okay, no money until the certificate of occupancy is achieved, and that means all your code violations are cleaned up, everything's up to current specs. In order to get your occupancy permit, those things have to be met. We most likely would ask you that you have to stay open for 3 years at a minimum, and that we would have we would need to discuss our hours of operations, because we're investing, we're investing in downtown because we want people to have things to do 7 days a week. 7 days may not be practical, but those are the kinds of clawback features that we would have in our deal, that money's payable upon occupancy permit with the following requirements. Stay in business for 3 years, and these are the hours of operation generally that we expect to have that opportunity there for people who come to town.
and an estimated completion date,
right,
So what I'm hearing, it sounds like, is, and quite frankly, we struggle with this because, these individual line items in these estimated budgets, unless you go out and get 3 quotes on everything, it's, and that's, I understand, we talked about that's very, very cumbersome, but at the same time, we're handing out money, and we need some security that it's the best possible price out there, and quite frankly, we stumble a little bit at this part of our, what we do in terms of small business grants in the community. But it sounds like where we're at here is, the main floor might be a better opportunity to get us moving. And, there's a couple high-ticket items in there. Tony mentioned them. All of 2, 4, 5, and 8. And then I guess you could, are the bigger ticket items that, another option on price would be helpful. And then sometimes I think I stand back and say, what's it worth to redevelopment to get that store open on Walnut Street? And, you have a number in mind, it's probably 25 to 30% of the total investment.
Well, it has value that it's on our main artery.
Right.
It's on Walnut Street. So there's value there in itself, that we have a business that's open. So, I mean, that's pretty important, And it's right in the heart of downtown, on Walnut Street, so.
So, Tom, can you go back and look at the first floor to get what it would take to get it open?
And come back next,
Yes.
February.
in the December meeting? I can do that,
Okay, that'd be great.
and I will get some more bids,
That'd be fantastic.
and I'll try to get them from Lawrenceburg.
So, Tom, when you leave here with Brian's recommendation, you know what percentage redevelopment is looking at
Yes,
contributing, right? Okay. I like that.
I think maybe we can get the number lowered down and be easier on him, be easier on us, and we can get business open.
well, some time ago, there was some conversation about if you granted X dollars, or whatever that was, that the person could go to,
The bank, that's not
Bank?
accurate
But that-
anymore.
that's
We've
not-
dealt with that, yeah.
The bank doesn't like to accept that.
Well, they can't, they just can't.
okay,
And in terms of funding, because there's no equity in, the proposed
well,
agreement.
you'd have to, they would have to sign over the building.
Yeah, and we would need a mortgage, quite frankly, for our clawback. We'd have to secure that clawback somehow, so that's just
A
problematic.
second.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I know what you mean, Tom, yeah. And we've worked, you and I have both worked with Jim Kittle and gone through that.
Right.
So, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Well, here I've covered up my agenda again. Moving on to old business, is there any old business?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly, I was able to meet with John Stinger and with Premier Energy Services, and I'm very happy to report that, and this is kind of the first big funding agreement that we've seen come to fruition in a really, really positive way. It's a long time coming, but we were able to offer in a very secure and protected and fiscally responsible way some matching funds for the Premier Energy project. And as a result of that, they're fully open. They have a full certificate of occupancy with all their build-outs. And they brought not one but two businesses, Premier Energy, Sycamore Gas. We were able to execute a closing agreement that plays off of the initial agreement of funding for them, secured by, again, clawback provisions and secured by property in case there were any deviations in the agreement. And so what we have is two businesses, promise of really good $30+ an hour union jobs, with relationships with Ivy Tech's technology program to do training where they'll train them, high school kids specifically on their processes. And it's just wonderful, really. And the way that the project was created by you guys and the way that it was carried out by you guys is really a model, I think, that we can use going forward. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, and John's here as well. I asked him to be here today, just in case you have any questions, but I wanted you to know that that project is complete, and we're ready to contribute our funds. Tomorrow, I'd just like a vote just on the record to go ahead and finalize that process.
Board have any comments or questions? So I got one. So there is a program set up with Ivy Tech for the education for the, or is it, are you doing it, or is it set up with Ivy Tech?
Well, I've talked to him quite a few times. We're not quite there yet, but it needs to be. Now that we're finally here permanently, we need to get it resurrected and get it completed.
Okay, so that is in that agreement here, for them to do that?
The agreement is
It is.
specific as to number of jobs, training, union wages, make good faith effort to hire all local. That's even in the agreement. So the agreement is everything that, all the requirements that you guys set out were put in the agreement. The clawback provisions are the full amount if they leave in the first year, and then a reduced amount for second and third year. So again, it's a good model for any project that we have like this that the opportunity presents
I have a
itself.
question for John. When you're talking about Tony's question on Ivy Tech, is it in the facility down there, or is it in Vivi? Would they work out of that one? Because I know they do a lot of the welding and all that kind of stuff in a different location.
Well, the intent, when I've met with Mr. Graver, is to do it here in Lawrenceburg.
So they'll be able to do it on campus.
That's what I'm hoping, and I actually met with the professor that he's assigned, is at the manufacturing facility.
And
I
if,
ask because I know they've used both facilities,
It-
Vivi over to here, so.
Yeah, well,
You've got these programs set up at the school already?
They will. They are setting them up now that they're here permanently.
they have a similar one up in Valparaiso, so we have a curriculum that we can utilize.
It's a long drive, John.
Yeah, that one is a long drive. So I'm hoping to get them to, we've met probably almost a year ago, the first couple times, and I just need to get, I may come back and ask for your help getting it going, but I think Mr. Graver will be good about
Redevelopment
trying
would
to
like
get.
to see that happen.
yes, so my question, Bill, is if this fails to happen with Ivy Tech, and to me, I mean, this is a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I love it. And even if you did it on the job training, that'd be fine with me. Hiring high school kids, bringing them in, teaching them how to weld, and getting them certified. I don't even have to have Ivy Tech. But if it's in the agreement that it is going through Ivy Tech, and that doesn't happen, what's that do to our agreement?
That is not one of that would not be a default term. So if that didn't happen, it wouldn't cause the deal to default one way or the other. So they're just, that's part of their plans, and that's in the agreement, but if it didn't happen for some reason, it wouldn't default the project.
Okay.
And I would mention, we've already signed an agreement with the laborers' local union here, 741, and I think we've hired like 5 people already out of their union local.
Wow.
So we're trying. And also, additionally, I've hired a couple people. It's not necessarily always easy to find somebody right from the city of Lawrenceburg, but my new accounts receivable manager's from Aurora, and I have a mechanic that I hired from Milan. So we're trying to make it all here local. It just makes it really a lot more beneficial.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Well, the Ivy Tech thing too helped from, because it's youth, and that's the difference in the two, so.
Well, and we've talked about it a lot, and Mayor's talked about it too, to have that pipeline and have an opportunity to, not everyone is destined to go to college, and especially in the world we live in now, it's not always the best thing to do. And if you can learn a trade that early, you can have a family, you can have a home, and you can do it here in Lawrenceburg, and that's just terrific.
Well, I think the great thing for them is just, I know we all think about retirement, but, the laborers union has a good pension, and there's not many places you can get a full pension anymore.
Well, we're happy to have you here, Sounds like our check balance is about ready to go down.
Yes,
That's
sir.
so what I'm asking, so what is the amount for that? Is it 400,000 or?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. And I talked to the clerk treasurer's office today, and they have the check ready.
Okay, so I'll accept a motion to pay Premier Energy $400,000, which is according to our agreement that we made previously. A motion by Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Thank you.
If I could, I just want to say thank you for having us here. I want to thank Mayor Milan and Mr. Messmore over here for helping us get this started, and thank you for your confidence in us, and we're going to do our best. I'm looking forward to getting some good employees, so hopefully it'll all work out well.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other old business that anybody has? Fine.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see, we already jumped ahead and completed the Civic Park, what are those initials, CMAR, we already did that.
Yep.
We got Premier Energy. If you remember in the minutes, last month, I had asked to table 501 Arch Street, which is directly across from Acapulco's catty corner from 300 Margaret. In addition to the 501 Arch, there is 215 Margaret, which is the little yellow structure behind. And I had asked to table that just to try to help the residents be able to make provisions for, a potential move and those sorts of things. So, what I would ask tonight, if we would like to, under old business, if you would like me to proceed with appraisals on those properties, we can do that as well.
Okay, does the board know which properties he's talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Directly across from Acapulco's?
No. They're saying that that's two lots?
That would be, the best use of those two lots would be to convey them as one, and then it would be, be able to construct a house and have off-street parking in the garage off the alley.
But right now, they're saying
lots.
that garage is a house.
That garage has been a house for a while. He's rented that out as a house for a while.
But if you look,
now.
if you take those two properties and look at them objectively, they would need to be surveyed as one and offer that as, just like we have on these other properties around town, for a house and a garage.
Mr. Berry, would you come to the podium? Is that one lot or two lots there?
It's 2 lots.
2 lots, okay. So,
You the owner?
together.
Yes.
And you made that garage into a home?
No, I bought it. It was a home. There were people living in it when I bought it.
And the deed says that it's
Yes.
divided up?
Yes.
Yeah, they're separate lots. So is there any interest in us purchasing these 2 buildings?
That would be, the only thing we'd move on right now is an appraisal?
Appraisals.
Okay.
I can just give you my but my opinion on this. I've had a lot of them that on that street would like to see the house on the corner gone. So, and that's what we're here for.
Right here, I'm going to ask, do you have a number on the house? I've talked to 2 different contractors that said they've talked to you about possibly buying it. So you're talking to someone about it. Is there a number?
I'm assuming we have to have appraisals on them, so we have to go with the appraisals. There's no other option.
Well, we have an option. We can go 25,000 and under, and we don't need to appraise anything.
Okay, I can do that on the one property, but not both of them.
I'm speaking for myself, but
No, it doesn't make any sense
No.
for one. It's a package deal to make a lot that's attractive for investment for new constructions.
So you're saying if we made an offer of 24.9, you wouldn't accept it for both properties?
No.
Okay. No, that's what he said, I'm just confirming. Okay.
Is there any interest in the board on purchasing these two properties?
I'd like to,
Now, your suggestion was per properties?
no, for both.
For both?
Total package, yeah.
I will repeat again, the way to make that an attractive and valuable piece of property is to take the two properties, pursue them both, demolition, and have a lot.
I think we're in agreement
Yeah.
with you, Ray. And I agree with the chairman, too. I'd love to see it gone because it's horrible.
Well, would you like to make a motion to go out for the two appraisals? Then we know what we're dealing with. You would accept I mean, we're not going to go out and get them appraised, and you're going to say that's not high enough, and we're just going to argue back and forth. Would you be willing to work with us on the appraisals?
Sure.
Accept
I own
those?
other properties in Lawrenceburg, and I would like to see things upgraded myself. And I'm willing to work, but I also have mortgages on the property. I'm limited in what I can do also. We can get
Well,
appraisals.
we went through this process with you down on High Street, if memory serves me, right?
I'm sorry?
Isn't the property on High Street yours, too?
Yes.
And the appraisals weren't satisfactory to you?
Well, I mean, that property's sitting on the corner of where $4 million project is going to go.
That's sitting on the corner now, but it wasn't sitting on
Well,
the
it's
corner
sitting in a
then.
very advantageous spot, and I can't sell it for $70,000 when that was the offer.
Okay. Well, that's got nothing to do with the
Yes,
other.
thank you.
Well, it is, but...
And here's the thing, too. I know you and I have talked, and I don't care what the state appraises that for tax thing.
Yeah, I
They're always
understand.
too
I
high.
understand that.
So we're going by our appraisals. So is there any interest in
Tony, I'd
purchasing
like
it?
to go ahead and go the two appraisals on these pieces of property.
I have a motion by Randy. Do I have a second? Go out for appraisals?
Second.
I have a second by Owen. All in favor? Okay. I have 2 ayes. All against? I have 2 against. I get to break the vote. Go out for appraisals. Aye. So, ayes have it.
Thank you.
So was that your roll call then?
Oh, okay, yeah, we do a roll call. I'm sorry.
We have to. Member Owen Cross? Member Randy Apner? Member Dennis Hutchins?
No.
Member Paul Seymour Senior?
No.
And Chairman Abbott, you?
Aye.
Okay.
Good job. So, there. And we'll go out for appraisals for those properties. Thank you, Tom. Anything else under old business? I think that's all the little notes here. I'm not hearing anything to approval of claims once properly certified. Motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Motion by Dennis, second.
Second.
Second by Owen, all in favor?
Aye.
Claims approved. Comments from the audience, anybody? Mr. Seymour Jr.
I'm on vent a little bit.
I seen you sitting there puffing.
Very, very, very disappointed in something that's happened the last few days. I need information and I'd like it. I want to know how the plans to demo the property was on Short and High. I can't understand for the life of me why for the last 5 years we've been demoing property and taking out foundations and trying to clean everything up. We are so worried about foundations that I witnessed you guys spend a lot of money on a parking lot up here off of Front Street because there was some foundations that were left in. But yet, in an area where we had over an acre to where we didn't have a clue where the next person was going to develop, we had to go in there and spend that money. But into an area to where we know where that building's going to go, now all of a sudden, we're leaving a foundation in there.
Okay, well, wait a minute, Paul, because I think this board has got the wrong idea then here, because we thought we were voting on removing the one-story structure for $50,000.
No, you're right. That is what you guys were talking about earlier. What I'm talking about is we hired a company, and I'm not faulting the company, okay? What my question is what did that company and the other companies bid on? Did they bid on a complete demo of that building? Because if they did, every other house in Lawrenceburg and every other thing that I've seen out of this committee and our staff has meant that we took foundations out.
Yeah.
We have heard the term shovel-ready lot. You guys heard it, you didn't like it, we spent the money to make it shovel-ready. I didn't think it needed to be there on this particular lot. I don't understand for the life of me, how come that foundation is still in there in probably 65 to 75% of it. Now, part of that foundation is a shared foundation to Mr. Barry's house. So I do understand that that couldn't be removed. But every other bit of that foundation should have been removed. I don't know why it wasn't. I don't know why it wasn't put in the bid documents. And if it was, I do not know why it wasn't acted on.
Well, you're hitting us all blindsided. We don't have an idea about the foundations whatsoever.
Right, and I talked to Paul this morning, and I haven't been able to track down the bid documents, but I did go over there, and it's 3/4 full right now. So I just have to track those down.
Who made up the bid documents? Was that Mike and Mario, or did you do them?
No, it was Mike and Mario.
Here's the thing,
Do you have the
guys.
bid documents?
Somebody's got them, somebody do some research.
It'd be pretty
I
simple to
want to
find.
know what was supposed to be done, and if we are paying to have that done, then I want it done. Or I want some refund on the money, because trust me, you're going to end up paying for it when somebody comes in here and starts putting a foundation in. Now, here's my other suggestion to you, because I'm getting real tired of it. You just put out for bid 2 more homes. Hire somebody to do it. It shouldn't be that hard. We need to make sure this stuff gets done. We got land consultants in town. We got Rizzo Engineering. Handle it. Get somebody to handle it. We miss too many things. It costs us too much money, guys. I'm getting tired of it. We got a big project here. It's gonna, I just want it to go good, and this foundation being in there, there's no reason in the world why that thing should have been left.
Record share the mayor's at the podium, Your Honor.
I called Mario this morning. He's actually on vacation. I didn't know that, but he answered the phone, and I asked him about that, Paul. In fact, the specific question was, are we to remove foundations under the sidewalk? Okay. And the answer I got was if they thought it was supporting the sidewalk, if it was going to be structural for the sidewalk, they would leave it in. That's the answer I got. Okay? I have not seen the bid documents, but I can certainly, we can track them now. Somebody's got them.
Yeah, I just wasn't able to get my hands on them yet.
We'll get them tomorrow morning.
So to move forward.
I told you I'd ask, but I didn't know.
I appreciate it. You got a 20-foot sidewalk, you got a sidewalk sitting on 6 inches of the creek rock. It's structural. That's it. I got one other thing, and this is a question for you. The couple that's buying the house, did that get taken care of, Dale?
With the
over
VA?
on Arch?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'll talk to Ed.
afterward. But yeah, they're good to go.
That'd be fine.
Yes, sir.
Well, as far as the rest of your comments, I think that's something we need to speak to City Council. I don't know if we can do that or not. You're asking us to hire an engineer to inspect everything that we have toward now?
All I'm asking is, guys, is we got people in this town that make a living doing certain things. We can get them to draw up documents to tear a home down. We can do that. You know, how many times have we sit here and there's been holes fall through? We don't have anybody to blame it on. All I'm asking you is just think a little bit. We need this thing to run and run smooth. And to me, that was just a big, giant overlook, that it might be an opinion, and I just, it's frustrating, to say the least.
Well, I'm with you 100% there. I mean, somebody should be overseeing that, whether the foundation goes or stays. I hate to see it all filled in and it's going to have to go. I'm going to dig it back up.
Let me ask y'all one question. Where's the next building going to sit? Ain't no mystery there, is there?
And so would, if they built in the same place, would they not dig down to a level where the structure, the underground structure is adequate and then I mean, I don't know.
I just like to add just one thing to that. I mean, if they're going to build a new building there, they're not going to build it on top of that Crick Rock foundation. So that Crick Rock foundation should come out no matter what.
You know.
I know, but eventually, here's the thing, the only thing I have, and I agree with you, Paul, that Crick Rock foundation will have to come out when a new building goes in there, so it's going to tear up the sidewalk then, so.
Well, there's another factor too. The sidewalks are going to be affected shortly by the man sitting to your left, Mr. Mayor.
That's true, too.
It's Civic Park.
So,
certainly better.
I'd like to know.
Can we stop this being filled in, because it's just going to cost us more to get it unfilled?
It's filled already.
It's filled already.
Completely?
Yeah.
They've been
You know what, guys? Here's the thing. I want to know, because if you paid to take that foundation out.
I agree with that.
If you paid to take that foundation out, we need a little bit back.
I agree with that.
Okay?
Yeah, but
it ain't like we can't get it out of there when we need. All I'm saying is I want to know if it was supposed to come out. Because if it was supposed to come out and we just spent 200 grand on a demo, maybe we can get 15 or 25 back. That's all I'm asking.
At least get some free frontal pieces that we just agreed to pay $3,500 for.
Yeah.
And about that, those weren't hid. They were opened up. They knew they was there. I brought it up to the people.
Yeah.
And I was told they were in the description.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told. All right. Are you done?
You know what, though?
Any other comments from the
Mr.
audience?
Chairman, on Paul's point, I understand what his frustration is. This is exactly what happened, the previous administration's redevelopment, when we took over on the property on Front Street. This is exactly the same situation, and the foundation was the culprit then, and he's anticipating that the foundation is going to be the culprit later. That's where he's coming from.
When it sounds like it's just it's a situation where we've never considered the bid process. We vote to put it out for bids, but we've never then, we should have, if we want to, we should have someone present to us the options, because you're going to get two opinions, leave it in or keep it, or leave it in or take it out, and then we should probably decide, since we're deciding to bid it, be more involved in the next step. That'd be my solution.
I can promise you one thing. They have never tore down a building in this town where they haven't been very specific at saying that the foundations all come out. Never.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back to comments from audience. Mr. Snyder.
Couldn't hardly wait, could you, Tom?
The other thing is, the two low bidders on that project. Paul and I came over here when they all were here, because we wanted to hear how they were explaining this project, okay? One, and these are reputable companies who do this all the time. We didn't get somebody who hired a bunch of people off the street to tear the buildings down. These people do this. So they looked through that bid package, and they flat out knew that those foundations, the words in there, that they didn't have to take them out. And their bid represented that.
Have to get copies of the bids, too.
You guys heard that day?
I take the expertise.
I'm asking.
You would have questioned it, right?
I'm asking a question, did the bid
Right.
documents leave the foundations? in?
Right. Well, we can't answer that right now. So we will get that answered. We'll get the bid documents tomorrow, and we'll get that answered. On a positive note, I know that somebody shared with you, and I wanted to speak again, if that's okay. I think somebody brought it up about...
Your Honor is speaking at the podium.
I know somebody brought it up about taking a field trip to Fishers to look at
Yes.
that housing project.
Brian brought it up.
Please, if, I know we won't be able to satisfy everybody's schedules, we're just going to have to pick a date that's good for them, and we'll have to do it. But I encourage you all, if you can, to make that. I'll be honest, I was for one I wasn't a big cheerleader for that project at the beginning, because I was looking at the money piece of it. But the more I look at it and the return we're going to get, it makes it a pretty good investment, so.
All mayors look at the
I
money.
just encourage you to,
Right?
put a plug in.
Tony,
Thank you.
make sure on these two pieces of property you're getting quotes on, make sure the foundations come out of it.
Or we hire an engineer to go over it.
That had to come from a
That's
council
all.
member.
Anyone else from the audience? Nothing for you, Lee?
Yes, ma'am.
Get on Aaron Cook for that. Okay. Nothing else from the audience, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Dennis, a second. Second by Owen, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. And Kelly, I would have been done in an hour if it wasn't for the mayor's comments.
Sorry. Journals on Tuesday and registers on Thursday.
Let me know. You give me.
There you go.
See, hey, let's see now. Let me know when you want.
95% of the it's been overtime. Okay, so you're going to make fun of my numbers.
The thing is,
That's why I'm taking notes. Once you get going in here, you know, once you get the feel of it, you get the,
Yeah, but
I just, you came on this board with me, it's like, I wasn't on that, I'm on all these other boards, but I never was on this one.
Said, you know, the terms or the terminologies that is being used, because I'm saying, okay, foundation, what do you mean?